Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon all, and welcome to this fortnight's installment of the IshPlusSix Podcast, the podcast series where you could discover your next favorite artist. On today's episode, I am joined by the one and only Your Friend Grace. Your Friend Grace is a Jersey-based alternative R&B artist who's been making moves within the underground music community with tracks like Venus, Rare Cereal Toy, and Seltzer being widely appreciated from her recent album, Hopeful Nocturnal. Make sure you go and check her stuff out. Please welcome Your Friend Grace to the podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fortnight's installment of the IshPlusSix Podcast, the podcast series where you could discover your next favorite artist. I, of course, go by Ish, and today I am joined by the one and only, the amazing Your Friend Grace. Let's go. How's it going, Grace? What's up?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
That's
I'm
sick.
good,
That's sick.
excited.
Where are you coming to us from?
So I'm based in Jersey, North Jersey, about like 25 minutes from the city. That's one of the main things I tell everyone. But yeah, it's cool over here. Been here for pretty much my whole life. So
Jersey. Yeah. I feel like I asked someone else this a little while ago. Is that near New York? Is it?
Yeah, so like on a good day, driving you could get there like 25 minutes, but traffic is crazy. They're actually I think they're implementing like a new fee, like $25 to get into the city to like decrease the amount of people that are going into the city. It's like active like very soon. So it's New York
25
drivers crazy.
$25 is insane. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And like $25 is probably like, I don't know, like maybe £23, £22. That's still
Mm-hmm.
mad to me. Like paying
Yeah.
£22 to get into London, because New York is basically the London of America, from what I've seen.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
people,
Yeah.
honestly, if I was to live in America, I'd probably want to live in New York just because of like the culture there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's so crazy. The subway system, just the everyone shouting at each other, that kind of thing. It just seems so sick, you know.
Yeah, the pigeons and all. I feel like everyone's kind of chasing that, and then there's no room left. Like
No,
the entire city is at capacity. So
I,
I
I've
only go there when I really need to, honestly. So,
I
but yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got beef with pigeons, but we don't need to get into that right now.
Oh
I've got beef with
man.
pigeons living pretty close to London, so it's like
Oh really?
I hate it, man. Do you know
Dang.
how often I get woken up by pigeons every day of the week?
Woken up.
Bro, these
They're
pigeons
that
outside of
loud?
the pigeons, they're just like hooing all the time, like they're a bunch of owls or
Mm,
something.
but
I'm
here's the
tired of it.
thing. Yeah, in New York, it's like they're pretty silent. They're plotting and they're moving around, but they do it in silence. I'm like, it's kind of like the New York mentality as well. Like, kind of just doing what we need to do, but like don't talk too much type. Like
They might be
the New
scared,
York
honestly.
pigeons. Yeah, the New York pigeons, they're probably built a little different from the British pigeons.
That's probably true, to be fair. I do feel
But
like New York, New Yorkers in general are probably, I don't know who's tougher between New Yorkers and Londoners, actually.
yeah, because I've heard that yeah, Londoners they mean business as well.
Yeah, they can be, yeah, a
I want I
rowdy
want to
bunch.
yeah, I want to go so bad though. I wanted to go since I was 12 because I had like a huge One Direction era. I didn't know if I
Yeah.
was gonna mention that today, but I just had to drop that in there. I was a Directioner. I was obsessed with like British media and just everything about it. So I've been trying to make it over there since I was 12. So hopefully one day I get there.
One day, honestly, I mean, I don't know if you'll see like Harry Styles or I don't know what your opinion is
Yeah.
on Louis Payne right now, but I don't know if you'll see
Mm.
him on the train or anything,
Wait,
but
did you say Louis Payne?
I don't know what, like, I know every direction on earth has beef with Louis Payne right now.
It's Liam
Oh, Liam
Payne.
Payne? Nah.
Louis
Whoops.
Payne, that's it. Yeah, that's their like cousin. Yeah, so it's like Liam Payne and then Louis Tomlinson. And then like a lot of people talk about Harry and Louis Tomlinson. It's like touchy. I'm not going to get
We're not
into
gonna
the
get into
fan
that.
theories right now, honestly.
You're trying to work
But
with them one day.
yeah, I heard that so Harry's been doing a residency at Madison Square Garden for like 12 days. And a lot of people camp out like for GA, like for floor, and I've heard that like every single night it like smelled so bad. I don't know if you saw that. It was like all over Twitter. It like
Co-
stunk.
I've heard about that. Yeah, concert smell. I went to this,
Mm.
albeit very fittingly smelling bad concert. It was a
Mm.
JPEG Mafia concert, and
Oh, yeah. Understandable.
it was one of the most. It was a great experience. I
Yeah.
learned a lot there, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd want to do it again. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I can only imagine. I wonder what a Cardi concert smells like.
I feel like the amount of adrenaline coursing through my veins would be
Yeah.
enough for me to not care. Like,
Yeah. I'm kind of traumatized from pits though because one, I'm 5'2", so like I already the odds of me getting trampled are pretty high. And my first pit, or like my first, yeah, my first mosh was at Gov Ball. I saw Brockhampton. That's another thing that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get into my whole Brockhampton realm, but I feel like I have to because like it has a lot to do with how I started making music. But
bro,
yeah, that pit was wild.
we
And
haven't even started the questions yet, yo, and we're like 10
yeah,
minutes into this. Let's
I know. I'm like, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop.
let's get into it. Okay,
It's
right.
fun
So
though. Yeah.
you've seen every single episode of the podcast before. You know that we always start off with a joke. Today's no
Yes.
different. As the viewers know, I'm in too deep. Let's just get into it. Get it out of the way, that kind of thing.
Let's go.
All right. Did you know you can wear any boat as a hat? Did you know that, Grace?
No, I did not.
You just have to turn it upside down and make it capsized. Madam.
Capsized. Is my knowledge on boats like lacking?
Like, when a boat turns upside down, it capsizes?
Oh, I'm afraid of boats too. I don't know if we wanted to get into that. I actually am. My aunt asked me if I wanted to go on a lobster boat the other day, where you like get on a boat and you like eat lobster, and I was like, I don't know who's driving
I, that's true. It could be like SpongeBob driving it or something, and we know what
it. Yeah, I was like,
SpongeBob's like when
who's
he's
driving it? Like the chef or something? I don't know. But anyway,
just like
I feel like
got a
I
little
should
air
have.
fryer on the side. Yeah. Let's just get into the questions, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So something I've noticed about your music, Grace, is that it almost sort of has like this hazy kind of fuzz to it, almost.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is kind of deliberate, but I am curious as to, because it sort of feels like I'm listening to it sort of like through a dream, if that makes sense. You know how like
Oh.
you'll listen to, I don't know, like you'll put a sock over your microphone and the microphone will hear
Mhm.
it through the sock. It's like I'm listening to it through a dream. And I'm curious as to like
Wow.
how much your dreams affect your music, or whether your inspiration comes from other areas of your life and that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to describe it. I've never heard it like that before. I'm gonna write that down. But so I have always been described as like quite a dreamlike person. I was quite shy growing up as well. So in a lot of like my school days was often just like doodling, not really talking much and just daydreaming to kind of pass the time. And I feel like it just coincidentally kind of comes through my personality as well. I feel like I'm quite chill. Um, but yeah, so I guess in that sense, it's kind of just me. Like I feel like when I record, I'm not like, oh, I need to be like this like cocky, confident person, or I need to be like very like somber and sad all the time. I really just try and sing how I sing, I guess, and that's just kind of how it comes forth. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely like personality. It's a lot of personality. And also a lot of my writing comes from like dreams. Like a lot of like the topics of my songs, sometimes it's things that haven't even happened to me. Like sometimes it's like things that say like sometimes it could happen to like a friend or a family member, or sometimes it's just like I'm like, oh, this would be cool if this happened to me, or this
Yeah.
would be cool. Like I'm like maybe like manifesting in a way for certain topics, but then yeah. But sometimes it's from real experience as well. I guess it's like it's a mix, but majority is like a lot of dreamy stuff. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mess with that for real. Um, so yeah, so dream. So you actually get inspo from your dreams. That's actually crazy. Like,
Yeah, I've woken up at like this has happened to me I think 2 or 3 times where I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. after having a dream. And like sometimes I'm not even particularly like recalling the dream that I had or writing it down. Sometimes I'll just like wake up and then I'll just have lyrics in my head, like random, and I'll just have to write them down like in my notes app. The notes app on my phone is like that's how I had like the kind of organized like the album rollout and everything. Like all my writing is in my notes app. So I'll wake up at 4 a.m.,
yeah,
jot stuff down, and immediately go back to sleep, which is like interesting. I just like write and then I'm like, yes.
that makes perfect sense. And I do feel like the average person's notes app will either like, if it gets submitted to
Yeah.
like the world and leaked, it will either get
I
them.
tweeted about that. I was like, but before I started like songwriting on my notes app, I would just like, you just write down random things, like things you need to remember. I don't know, poetry, like whatnot, your grocery list. So sometimes I'm like, if someone were to see this and just read it through, like it'd be terrifying or just
Bro,
make absolutely no sense. Yeah.
honestly, like between my Google data and my notes app being released to the world. Okay, now I'd rather have. Yeah, to be
The
fair, I'd rather
Google
have my
dates.
Google data released to the world. I'm not
Mm,
gonna lie.
me too, honestly. I don't use my Google Calendar as much as I should, but
Yeah, I get you.
yeah.
We can move on to the next question. I want to talk a little bit about you mentioning being uncomfortable with being honest with yourself in the past.
Mhm.
So I want to know what or who the main factors are, um, that affect that being honest with yourself. Who being like a certain demographic, not necessarily like, oh, my auntie makes me, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So growing up, um, I really appreciate like my upbringing and like in terms of like the space that I grew up in and my town. But I do feel like growing up, it was very much kind of a bubble, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like, and this is something that I'm still like working through myself. And I always said I would love to make a project just like and hone in on this topic. But um, I guess like in terms of like the makeup of like my hometown, I was kind of like the only person of color growing up, pretty much, which kind of set me out on an interesting foot from a really young age.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, and like that's not to say that I don't appreciate my upbringing because I have like amazing friends that I still like I'm super close to now, but it's like it's one of those things where you're just kind of like you can't not be aware of it, you know, like you go about your day and you kind of feel it. And I did have like a few like incidents like in the past or like cases of like discriminatory things here and there, but I feel like I use that to my advantage now because
It's
I
character
feel like
development.
yeah, all my life I was kind of chasing I guess like the sense of belonging that I couldn't get from like face value, if that makes sense. So like a lot of my high school I was super involved, even in college as well. Before music I was involved in like cheer. I was heavily involved in cheer in like high school and college, and I feel like that was a way for me to like show people like this is me, like outside of like what you see. um so and just distracting myself, but I do think there's um kind of like it can kind of not like disrupt, but like your upbringing, it can kind of influence it. So I feel like for a long time I was like kind of afraid of showing my full self, but now I don't care at all. Like after I went to college, like, and it was kind of more, everyone was kind of more okay with being themselves
Yeah, I get you.
wholeheartedly. Like I feel like I really kind of like blossomed, and I guess kind of like later than most people, but yeah. And then college was when I like fully decided to start making music like all in. So
I
yeah.
completely get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like to sort of like bunny hop off of what you
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, I do feel like distractions, like any kind like emotional, mental, or physical distractions,
Mm-hmm.
those are the biggest hindrances when it comes to self-awareness and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like we're stopping ourselves from achieving much higher heights
Exactly.
with all
Yeah.
these distractions that we put in front of ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or oftentimes like even like just like put it on yourself because it's like, I feel like if you don't just say like if you don't like put that aside and just like literally stand in front of the world and be like, this is me. If you don't like it, like that's fine. But if you do, that's cool. Like we can hang out, like we can chill and but it's like if you don't like feel that discomfort by putting yourself out there, like you'll never know. You'll never know what could be. So I feel like, yeah, it's just like a good thing to keep in mind. And I feel like it's worth it being uncomfortable to like feel the comfort in the future,
I
I
get
guess.
that. Yeah, it's
But
like
yeah.
putting yourself. I don't know. Look, I don't have a quotable line to to
No, it's all
reference right now.
good. It's all good. I'm like tangenting. I'm like trying to explain.
Nah, I
But
get it. It
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
thanks.
Okay, cool. So I do want to talk about you mentioning makeup being a part of like your personality when it comes to like your interests and hobbies and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be seen in the visuals for some of your music videos like Venus from a little
Mm,
while ago. Um
thanks. Yeah.
and I'm curious as to whether you could talk a bit more about how important that kind of thing is, like makeup, VFX, that kind of thing is when it comes to your own videos.
Yeah. So for Venus, I had like a pretty strong like idea for visuals. It was my first video that I ever did. So it was very DIY. I
Yeah,
literally filmed it on my iPhone and my friend literally like drove her car and I was in like the back seat with like my head out the window. Like it was all very
yeah,
DIY. Um, I think makeup was my first love in terms of this is gonna sound like kind of weird, but like in terms of like almost like role play, like when I was little, I would like do makeup on my mom and like pretend like I was a makeup artist, and I'd be
yeah,
like, "This is my kit," and like I'm gonna like cleanse you with this and do that and that, and like that was the first time that I ever like, in a way, kind of manifested like I didn't realize like that was kind of like manifesting in a sense because you're putting yourself in a role that you maybe like someday want to expand on or like fulfill. So I feel like I do that a lot with my music as well. Like I'll like visualize myself where I want to be in the future, like and literally like talk it through and so yeah, so like that was one part of it. And then in terms of like the makeup itself, I'm really into like aesthetics and I love Pinterest as well. Like I'm in the works of kind of thinking about concepts for my next project. I don't know if I should. I mean, it doesn't matter. But like it's
yeah,
but yeah, cuz I feel like I'm very inspired right now, so like I've been doing like Pinterest boards and yeah, I feel like I'm big on visuals. Um, so yeah, makeup is just a way for me to like carry out the vibes of the song. I also think like right now I'm trying to like establish, I guess, an aesthetic for like my music. I guess I want it to be quite like dreamlike, like you mentioned, and kind of like purples and pinks and I'm trying to like work on establishing that in terms of like visually, like the things you see, like the videos, the content. So yeah,
yeah.
makeup is a part of that
And do
for
you think
sure.
that the sort of like dreamlike aesthetic will continue on onto like your future projects and things like that, or will there be different eras, like I don't
Yeah.
know, like a shopping mall concept or like I
Mm.
don't know, like a ranch country concept or whatever. Like
Yeah.
what kind of stuff do you think will
Yeah,
be
I
what
think
do you
it'll
think your friend
always
Grace will be looking like in the future, basically? That's what
mm-hmm.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I think it'll always. I have an obsession with purple. I don't know where it came from. Like, I love the color your do-rag right now. I keep looking at
This is
it
my favorite
because
do-rag.
that's like my color. Like, that's the color, and I don't know when it stemmed, like what it stemmed from. But yeah, so definitely like stuff like that. But also I think it'll always remain dreamlike. I would like for it to be consistently just like dreamlike because that's what I love, like at the core. I also I feel like the past few years I've been trying to heal my inner child. So like I watch a lot of like Winx Club and like I don't
Yeah.
know, just like that aesthetic, like Totally Spies and things like that.
That
So
was the show. Totally
yeah,
Spies. I was
yeah,
scared to admit to anyone that I watched that show when I was younger, but that was the
yeah.
show, yo.
I feel like in terms of animation, it was just like it was so cute. Like you couldn't not like love it, even if you like didn't express it. Like it was just like a cute show visually. So I love that. Like and Disney princesses as well. I want to be a Disney princess one day. I'm putting it out there. But yeah, very much that. I would love for it to be like maybe it's like cute, 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 and then like one project is just like dark. Like I feel like that'd be cool. But for now, I really do like vibey stuff.
For
So
real.
yeah.
I feel that. Um, and yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. It's clear that lyrics are a big deal to you when it comes to music and that kind of thing, like when you're writing and um, like I've listened to your music and it's a lot of your lyrics have like intense symbolism and that kind of thing and metaphors and all of the
Hmm.
English literature buzzwords. I'm curious as to your favorite lyric that you've written. Like, were there any that just made you think, yo, this is it?
I'm trying to think now. I feel like when I get like questions about like titles or lyrics, my mind completely goes blank.
I get that.
But one I think conceptually that I just love is probably NYNY, which is the last track on Hopeful
Mm,
Nocturnal.
yeah,
Just because like the title itself is like a double meaning because it's like NYNY. Everyone says like New York, New York, and the song New York, New York. But it also means like New York needs you, if that makes sense. Like it's like New York needs you. So I loved that. Like my mind was blown from that. I don't know why. It's very simple, but I just really loved it. And then um I'm trying to think. Yeah, just that song as a whole. That was also just like recalling a scenario that
yeah.
just like I hope to happen. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Um I think I like Toma, which is the first track. Because that's actually from like real experience. It's everything I'm facing, the lines that I'm retracing. I swear I see your eyes in everything I do. I swear I feel your hands on mine, but I'm not with you. I don't know. I feel like that's just like everyone
Yeah.
can like hear that and think of someone or like something and it kind of resonates.
Yeah,
So,
that's profound for real, because like that's one of those ones that everyone can relate to, it's
mhm.
crazy. You've mentioned in the past looking up to people that seem to think had it all figured out. And yeah, I was just wondering if you could name a few. In terms of like, celebrities or even just people in your life who, you sort of like lived vicariously through and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess like generally I feel like when we're kids, we all kind of look up to like our guardians, like the people that, we see on a day to day that tell us, what to do, like go here, eat this, whatever, whatever. But yeah, I think the way that I knew that I was getting older is like when I started to have more of a say, I guess, like even at like family gatherings and like things like that, just like people kind of listening to me more. And there was a point in time where I was just like, whoa, like they were like asking me questions or like what I thought about like, you know, like I don't know, like topics like the current state, the current state of the world.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah. The
playing with mud
political and
puddles last week.
economical
What
state of the world.
the?
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, I feel like that's how I knew that I was like growing up and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And also like from a celebrity standpoint, I was like, I mentioned One Direction. I was such a fangirl growing up. And I feel like I'll always have that. Like it was just such a big part. Like I feel like since I like was shy in high school and I didn't like go out or do anything, I just spent all my time like finding out where
Where they
Louis
were.
Payne was, like, you
Yeah.
know, like tracking him on
Louis
Twitter.
Payne, you know.
So like, so I feel like that'll always be a part of me. But like on the flip side, like you see so many of these artists who, you know, like say they get signed to a label and like, you know, their vision is kind of stripped from them and it's like they go through like mental and emotional things because of that, or they have like outside things and it's like they're forced to tour and things like that. Like it's like not all, you know, golden, you know, glamorous,
Simon Cowell's the
beautiful all
devil.
the
I know
time.
what you're trying to say. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're
Yeah.
putting down. I know what you mean.
So it's like, yeah, just realizing that you know, it's not what it seems sometimes, just in everything, I feel like,
I
for
get that.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
not what it seems. Yeah, that's so real.
Nothing is ever what it seems.
So, in a lot of your music, I've noticed that it's sort of like it doesn't tend to fit the standard 3.5 minutes that, you know, all the songs on the radio will fit. And it's like it it airs on both sides of the spectrum, you know what I mean? Like it will
Mm.
be either 2 minutes long or 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.
Yeah.
Like it will be either really low or really high in terms of like the amount of time it is. And I'm just curious as to, you know, I mean, what's the reason for that, Grace? Tell me about that. Because
It's interesting. It's interesting that you brought that up because I feel like now with TikTok and everything, I feel like everyone's like attention spans. I'm just saying like generally, even mine, like some songs like I'll listen to like an Akon song from like back in the day and I'm like, dang, this song's still going and it's only like 3 minute, 3:30 some. So it's like I feel like everyone's like kind of span for like how long a song is kind of like in a transitional period just because of like TikTok viral songs and like just like getting to the punchline like very quick. But
for
in
real.
terms of me for my music, like that was like not intentional at all. Like I don't know. I think it's kind of split down the middle, honestly. Like for Hopeful Nocturnal, it's like some of the songs are like, yeah, like reaching 5 minutes or they're like not even 3 minutes. I think in the beginning I was kind of like still kind of pondering in terms of like how I wanted to structure my songs. So maybe that was when some of the songs kind of leaned towards the longer side. And then as I was wrapping up the album, I realized I was like, I can like say what I want to say in like a more concise format and like in a way that like hits, but like hits sooner. You know, like I feel like even with like yeah, some of the songs like in the first half and I it's not something that I like regret at all. I think that each song like fits the length.
Yeah,
At least like when I listen back. But yeah, I think that was definitely also like a learning curve as well. Just like to know that you can like kind of punch and like hit on what you want to say in like a fraction of the time if you just, you know, play with like dynamics and like even like putting like like little sprinkling little things here and there. Um, so yeah, definitely, yeah, wasn't intentional, but was like a learning experience as well,
that
for
makes
sure.
perfect sense. Yeah, and it's interesting that
Mm.
you mentioned TikTok because
Mm.
the the way TikTok has just
Yeah,
com
completely
completely
changed everything.
changed is a good word to use because I was going to use something different. The way TikTok
Yeah,
has just completely changed the music industry over the past 2 years
yeah.
is insane. Like you'd get
Mm.
artists like you know people like Carti and all of that who would like who have switched it up over time. You know, it's
Yeah,
like every rapper's doing the baby voice now, but
yeah.
TikTok switched it up in I don't even know. Like Central C's got that, you know, that Doja Cat song. That song's only like a minute
Mm.
and a half long. He
Yeah,
he that song turned into a TikTok sensation in the space of like a day. I've never
yeah.
seen it. Okay, I've seen it plenty of times before over the past 2 years, but before
Yeah,
these
yeah.
2 years, nah, it's
Yeah, it's
mad.
crazy because like I feel like with TikTok, it's like so song oriented, and I feel like the dances is like partly because of that. But also, if you remember Vine, like actually, well, I think Vine didn't even have an option to put songs.
It didn't.
So
No,
maybe
I don't
that's
think.
why. That's why, like, I don't know, but I don't think anyone expected it for it to become like for the music industry to be so, or at least like I guess the popular music industry to be so like reliant on it. Like all these things about like artists being forced to like
To make
make
TikToks,
TikToks
yeah.
or to make a dance. It's crazy.
And
So
do you know what? It all comes down to like social media as a whole, because I
yeah.
think social media is the reason why we'll never get an artist as big as Michael Jackson again. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
reason why Michael Jackson was so big, in my opinion, was just simply because of the fact that um, this was back in a time when social media wasn't as big as it was. So like, if there was like a behind the scenes kind of thing, like behind the scenes
Yeah.
special on his life, everyone would tune in.
Yeah,
But
because you wouldn't be able to see it like on the timeline. And then also streaming too. Because it's
exactly,
like no one buys CDs as, as often because they don't need to. So it's
exactly. What do you think about this whole Drake versus Michael Jackson argument in regards to Drake being like bigger than Michael Jackson and that kind of thing?
yeah, I mean, I do agree with you in the sense that like yeah, we will never have someone like Michael again. It was two completely different eras and two completely different ways that we consume music. Um, but yeah, I don't think the argument is, even an argument. But I think in terms of, I wouldn't so much compare them, but I feel like they're both a good representation of two artists that were able to kind of crack the code of each era of like music consumption. I feel like I feel like Drake in terms of like punchlines and just like musically he just knows how to say the right thing and how to get people going, and I feel like Michael also was really good at that, as well as like his performance factor as well. But yeah, I don't know if I would compare the two, but I would say that they're both equally as influential, I guess.
As influential, yeah, that's an
Mm.
interesting take, because
Hmm.
it also might be a chronically online take as well from my end about
Mm.
the whole Drake thing, because I'm pretty sure that Ed Sheeran's actually the most popular artist in the world right now, because he's like number one on Spotify and everything. So
Yeah, but it's like that it makes me wonder like I don't know, I would love to see like the breakdowns of streams and like different playlists, and because I feel like when you hear at least like right now, I mean, I'm not like a I think his fan base used to be called Cheerio. I'm not a
kind of
Cheerio, but like
dumbass
I
name.
feel like now and like he's very talented. What when I hear his music, it's usually like in a store or like in a fitting room. Like I feel like I'll be trying something on and I just hear like his
not
songs. So I'm
not a
like, I
lot of
wonder how much of
people.
that is like corporate playlists and like brand playlists and different stations and stuff. But yeah, that's crazy to hear. I feel like I heard that as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
not a lot of people. I feel like either not a lot of people choose to listen to Ed Sheeran. Look, the main question is, what would you say that the perfect length of a song is for this day and age? That's really what I was asking, what I was getting
Mm.
at.
Hmm. Because I feel like a lot of the time, like the TikTok songs, they're like, what, like 2:30 or like about 3 minutes. But it's like, so a TikTok song goes viral and people are like, oh, that sounds kind of good. I'm gonna look it up on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. I feel like a lot of the time when they look up these viral songs, like the rest of the song is like not it.
Exactly. Like every artist nowadays is chasing that 15 second. And you know that one
Hmm.
Lizzo song where it's like that in a minute, I'm gonna need a second.
Hmm.
That one, it's like the rest of the song isn't like that. You know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
heard it just randomly come on the radio the other day. I was listening to it, and okay, first of all, I immediately got the urge to do that little hand flip
Yeah,
thing.
the dance. Yeah,
Yeah, which is
Well,
a
I don't know. I
completely
don't know how to
different
do it.
topic. I don't know either,
Hmm.
the whole whatever. I don't know. But
Yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, it's like that part of the song is completely different to the rest of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I feel like we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't like take note of the fact that like these producers definitely like know that there's a strategy like to having that what's the limit to like a TikTok, at least like a TikTok dance. Usually the songs are about a minute, like the snippet that you can use.
yeah,
So it's like if it's just about the snippet and like the virality of it, like some of these people might be like, what's the point of making the rest of the song hit just as much? But you would think that if people are going back to like looking up these songs, that you would want the entirety of it to hit. And I guess this is like subjective because there's some people that might be like, oh, the whole song hits and it's great. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting. It's interesting that like, because I noticed that and it just seems like a lot of other people have picked up on that as well. So I would say perfect song. Uh, maybe like I feel like I like a good like 3:30 to like 4, but I'm like, is 4 minutes categorized as long? Like I'm not sure. I guess that just depends on who you ask.
I guess it depends on the tempo as well, because
Hmm.
sometimes I'll be listening to some music and it's like, bro, this song's still going,
Yeah,
and
so
I'm
maybe
only
like
2 minutes in.
maybe like 3:30. Yeah. I feel like my like attention span or is like it's changing
My attention
for
span is
sure.
so bad nowadays, and I'm
Same.
aware
I
of
feel like
it.
it's social media is a lot to, yeah. But we're getting into the social media, like it's not good. Like put your phone down. Like I'm gonna take your phone. Like just, I feel like I'm
Like
getting like that because it's
exactly.
just like it's everything to us. At least like, and it's like I feel like sometimes I'm like not conscious of it, but when I am, I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
And it's like I
So
still can't put it down even when I'm thinking about it, you know? It's just
yeah,
yeah.
wild. I'm like, how do we reverse this? I don't know. We can't. We're pretty far in now, honestly.
It's too far. It's a downward spiral from here.
To be
Unless
real, yeah.
I'm trying to pick up a Kindle or something. That's what I'm trying to do. But
Real. Yeah, I'm trying to read more.
yeah.
I got my book here.
What book is
Yeah.
that?
It's actually Michelle Zauner, crying in H Mart. She's the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast, who I love. I love her and I love that band.
Oh,
Recommend.
I've heard of Japanese breakfast. I've been trying to
Mm.
I haven't been trying to get into them, but they're one of those ones that's like on my radar and I'm considering getting
Yeah,
it.
they've been popping off recently as well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess depends what you categorize as popping off, but
They've
yeah,
been popping off in
they've
the underground scene.
yeah they've been doing like they did Gov Ball, they've been doing festivals, and they did SNL the other day, which is
Oh,
like
really?
huge. Yeah, that's dream for me as well, because I
SNL?
that was such a big part of like my family's, I guess like Saturday like ritual. I guess like we would always watch it. So and I feel like once you hit SNL, it's like yeah, it's just like it's such a iconic
The only way
show.
is up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
but yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
song length maybe 3:30. I don't know.
3:30. That's cool. I do have one more question before I let you go on your way, Grace. I do ask this question to everyone, and today's no different. So let's just get into it. You are heard by literally everyone on Earth, all 8 billion at this point. For 10 seconds, what do you say?
I would say just to be a nice person. Like it's free. It takes more effort to be mean, to be a meanie. Um it's yeah, and it's a vibe. You'll notice that you'll receive that in return when you're cool to people. I feel like I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and see the beauty in everyone. So I'm like, just be a nice person and stream Your Friend Grace on all platforms.
There it is.
Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal. I'm trying to get into Tidal actually because I'm just like, what goes on over there? I mean, I know you have to pay for it, but
It's a deep web of music streaming services. That's
yeah.
what
And
Tidal
also,
is.
yeah, I want to shout out just all BOC, Autumn XO, Lucas, just all those people. They're goofy, but they're cool. I've always wanted music friends. Shout out like Zach Boss, all those people. Because like I've always wanted that growing up, and I never had that because I feel like it was a lot of people like oh, like what party are we going to tonight? Like I'm in a sorority, like that's all I care about. Like so it's
Yeah,
just like to have music friends that I just like, nah, this is what I do. And like if you like it, cool. If not, cool too. And like we want to take it all the way. So yeah,
that's
shout
real.
out.
Yeah. Uh, Cool. Well, thank you, Grace, for appearing on this episode of the IshPlusSix Podcast. Listeners of the
Yeah.
IshPlusSix Podcast, make sure you all go check out your friend Grace's recent tape, Hopeful Nocturnal. My favorite tracks are Rare Cereal Toy, Crazy, and Seltzer. Grace, is there anything else you'd like to say before we end off this episode of the IshPlusSix Podcast?
Um, nah, you're cool ish.
I
Rock
appreciate
star.
I appreciate that, Grace. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Listeners of the IshPlusSix Podcast, keep it real, and I will see you later, alligators.